improv, baby.
Okay, we're recording. What's going on? My name is Jake Lloyd, co-leader of NPDC. I'm joined by Emma Cowan-Young and Maria Randazzo. Got that on the third try. Also co-leaders. What's going on, y'all?
God, it's so good to see your guys' faces.
It's really good to see you. I miss you guys.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, me too. It is Wednesday, April 1st. It's no joke. 5:13 p.m. We just completed March. We were supposed to be having workouts or events on every day of March, but instead this pandemic came around. We had to cut things off on March 12th. So we officially went, 20 days or 19 days of March plus this first day of April, basically without seeing anyone from MP, self-quarantining, and doing NPDC March Madness, a bracket of 64 spice all the way down to the final two, which is the main reason we're here today.
Let's get into it. I want to talk about the origination of March Madness, the bracket, because we transferred it over from March Madness, the actual concept, where we were doing 31 workouts in a row, and then COVID-19 hits, we suspend workouts, and very quickly, I'm going to say, Jake, this was your original idea, right? The bracket?
Well, Emma actually hit me up and she said, we still need to do some March Madness bracket thing. Little did I know she was talking about some sort of basketball related thing, even though the tournament had been canceled. But I just kind of ran with it, shot her back an idea around doing this kind of thing, and next thing we know, we were in the same space, but we were separated by like 20 feet at all times, and we put together this entire bracket of 64 different spice. We did demos of every one.
I think that was my favorite part about this.
And those demos will live forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, those will have long.
They're far beyond us.
Right. People will be watching me do clamshells 20 years from now when Emily's leading NP or something.
We're actually not going to post any exercises. We're just going to share those videos out from now on. So welcome to our new social media strategy. Let's get into it. So how did you guys decide which spice to use?
We looked at all the spice that we had in our NPDC repertoire, and we kind of went with the easier the spice, the higher reps that we should do. So the seeds corresponded with how many reps you do of that. So I think the harder, Jake, correct me if I'm wrong when we were thinking about this initially, but the harder the spice, the higher the seed it was. Yeah?
The harder the spice, and by higher seed, you mean like a 1, a 2, or a 3, basically.
Right. So just looking at it, the 1 seeds for the tourney were 1 minute of plank in the Northwest bracket.
1 minute right plank, 1 minute left plank, and 1 minute boat pose. And only one seed, only the 1 minute of plank won its 1 versus 16 matchup. So it was upset hysteria from the beginning. Let's talk about the underdogs, because I feel like that is really the story of this tournament. Is lots of come from behinds, frankly even some real blowouts by like 13-14 seeds. I mean, right now we just finished up our Final Four on Monday and we're seeing a 13 seed go to the finals, if I have that right?
14 and a 12.
14 and a 12. And let's just, what's the finals matchup before we break it down?
So we've got in the final here, we've got the 14 seed Russian Twists versus the 12 seed Bicycles in the final.
Which I have to say I'm a little surprised at, because we don't do a lot. Maybe we do, and I'm just not cognizant of it. I don't feel like we do a lot of either of those at our workouts. Or maybe people are just like so jazzed. Yeah.
Yeah. Could that be the draw that people were so into those because we don't do them a ton of workouts?
I mean,
that was part of the draw.
Maybe this is really a calling from the people from our audience for more oblique centered exercises. Because I mean, think about it. This is a battle of the obliques. I mean, both of these exercises are going to work your obliques really well. You're going to hit both sides on them. Yep. So for a Russian twist, you're going to be doing 14 on each side. For bicycles, you're going to be doing 12 on each side. And frankly, I was surprised they both made it through. But to me, I mean, Russian twist steamrolled through its first 5 matchups. On the other hand, bicycles has just been squeaking by.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely surprises to see both of those in the final. Let's talk about some of the ones that you guys were surprised to see fall early on. I mean, I think from the outside of the tournament, I was like, burpees are going down, like first round. I was actually shocked to see them make it through.
So I was an early fan of burpees. I really thought 5 burpees.
You bet it all on burpees.
Yeah, well, not all. I thought because we do a lot of them, there's only 5 of them. I mean, 530s busting out burpees all the time when Big Andy's at workouts. So I mean, I really thought that would be a big draw. But and they made it, decently far. But
16, yeah.
I think my biggest heartbreak was QB specials.
Mm.
I had them taken the tournament.
Well, I think
go ahead, Jake.
I was just going to say, I think the thing with that, Emma, with QB specials, this is a spice that has not been around for a long time. The program is just kind of up and coming, and they haven't quite established themselves. But for them to, where did they get? They got Sweet 16, right? They lost. Yeah,
and honestly, they lost to hip thrusters.
That's what I was going to get to. Hip thrusters were the name of the game for this round of March Madness, and I was frankly disappointed to see them go out when they did.
Yeah, me too.
Hip thrusters. I mean, you talk about workouts that we don't really do at workouts, or spice that we don't do at workouts. I mean, hip thrusters making it all the way to the Final Four. I don't know. I don't know.
What do you guys think people like more? They like doing hip thrusters, or they like watching time-lapse videos of us doing hip thrusters?
Boom. I think that you're right on the money there, Tasso. I think that the time-lapse hip thruster, I think out of all the time-lapse that we've seen, the spice in time-lapse, I think hip thrusters definitely take the cake for that, for sure.
What was your biggest disappointment? To me, we Flying Dutchman, we do them, almost at every other workout, super popular. You're really, working out your legs well. I wasn't surprised they got past plank swings in that 8-9 matchup in the Southeast, which we talked about before the tournament. Emma, was by far the most difficult region.
Oh yeah.
But then they go up against crunches in that 8-16 matchup in the second round. Mm-hmm. And it's like crunches, like there's a reason we don't do crunches. They're boring. They're bland. They're not sit-ups. And somehow crunches just takes down Flying Dutchman. In a matchup that wasn't really that close. I was kind of disappointed there.
Yeah, that's pretty disappointing to see. I mean, that is a tough sell, though. I mean, if you're looking at 8 Flying Dutchmen, both sides, versus 16 crunches, I mean.
That's one thing, too, that I noticed kind of as we got into the later rounds is we started, and obviously this isn't seen by the 2 that are still alive in the final, but we saw a lot of the both sides exercises falling off. Mm-hmm. And I think generally people just enjoy doing 12 straight up hip thrusters versus doing 11 speed skaters on both sides in a limited space in their living room.
Sure.
I have to say my bracket got busted because I put it all on Jane Fonda's in the first round, foolishly forgetting how much everyone loves plank. And I mean, it was a fool's errand to think that a 16 could overtake a 1, but I love a Jane Fonda.
Jake,
but again, a both sides exercise.
Has a 16 ever taken a 1?
What?
Has a 16 ever beat a 1?
Well, I mean,
we had a couple upsets in the tournament.
The first time we've done this, and I mean, 3 out of 4 won. Which was
I picked the 116 that didn't.
You got the one that was wrong somehow, Dan. So, But how about the fact that not a single 2-seed advanced? And I just think at the end of the day, people did not want to do things that lasted 2 minutes. People got things to do. I don't care if we're quarantined. Everyone
quarantine time is in limited supply.
Really,
you talk about a 2-minute wall sit, brutal. You talk about 2 minutes of legs lifted. I remember the last 2 times we did those at actual workouts.
Yeah.
People hated us afterward for those.
Mm-hmm.
You look at swim practice. Come on, no one's going to do that. I mean,
No.
Cool that we put it in, but no, people hate that burnout. And then a 2-minute plank. I mean, people are doing plank palooza like every day. They're probably planked out, which actually is a little bit surprised that the 1-minute plank made it all the way to the Elite 8.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the time factor is definitely. I think that was reason that folks didn't pick that. I think you're right. I think that being able to just bust out the single non-both sided and non-time spice really seemed to do better overall. Although we have 2 both-siders in the final.
Well, let me ask you this. You've done every workout, right? Each round. You've done all 5 workouts. Obviously, we've changed things up a little bit as we've gotten down to 16 and 8 spice, and so on. What to you was the most challenging workout? And second part of my question did the workouts determine your choices, basically, in terms of like what you wanted to do? Like, were you looking for an ab-centered workout versus a full body? Like, are there any particular moments that really stood out to you where you were like, hey, I really like micro squats, but I did legs yesterday?
I can't remember which round it was. I guess maybe it was either Sweet 16 or the round of 32 where we did every spice that you picked 5 times through.
No, that was a recent round. That had to be the Elite 8 because there were 4 matchups.
If that's what Dasa did, then no wonder that would have been a hard one.
Jesus, that's like,
yeah, I felt like the Elite 8
someone didn't read the instructions.
The Elite 8 was a real challenge, just because I think we really got up there in reps, which is not necessarily something we do at workouts because obviously running is a much bigger component in all of this. Yeah, I mean, banging out 75 dips, you're feeling it.
Yeah. I will say that I put myself in a tough spot because I really like doing quad and leg stuff. And so I picked both micro squats and squats in was that the Elite 8?
Double down on legs.
No,
yeah, I doubled down on legs. I was pretty
4.
confident. I was pretty confident. People like leg stuff. I felt good about that. And I really wanted to do leg stuff. And so I was definitely feeling that the next day. And then it was compounded by the fact that because both of those lost, I owed Jake 200 squats extra.
Yeah, I said there was no way that both of those squats, that people were going to choose both squats during the workout. I thought one of them was going to advance, but they both went down. Actually, the Final Four matchup, I was feeling quite the burn because I did bicycles and Russian twists, and it was 8 total sets for both of those.
Yeah.
So at the end of that, my obliques were absolutely on fire. Let's talk about the matchup. It's going down on Friday. Let's go through kind of their roads to the championship game. Russian twist, they started off again as a 14 seed. They beat Shake Your Tail Feathers, the 3.
We're still watching at this point.
Folks,
but if you are, stay with us.
Now we're about to really break this thing down for you. They beat the 3 seed Shake Your Tail Feathers 82 to 18%. They beat the 6 seed Dead Bug 72 to 28. They beat 15 seed One-Legged Calf Raise 62 to 38%. Got a little tight in the Elite 8 against that 1-minute plank 54 to 46%. And then even tighter in the Final Four against hip thrusters 52.5 to 47.5%. So that was Russian twist. Relatively easy road to the championship game. Contrast that with bicycles. Their easiest matchup was in the first round when they took down plank up downs 68-32. But then cross squats, you talk about another spice kind of new to the scene. Thought they might have a chance for a while. It was a 59-41% win. We mentioned crunches surprisingly getting to the Sweet 16. That was a 56-44% win for bicycles. And then squats in the Elite 8, 54-46%, again, really close. And then dips was an absolute barn burner in the Final Four, 50.8% to 49.2%. I guess my main question, how can bicycles pull the upset in the final?
I think it's going to be a volume issue. We saw it in the Final Four, like 2 super tight matchups. I think you just got to get people in your camp. So if you are strongly and seeing bicycles come out on top as top spice, you got to start rallying people. We haven't quite designed the workout, but I'm thinking like 30 to 35 minutes straight of the spice. I don't know, if you can swing like 10 to 12 people your way, you're probably going to have it.
I think that something we saw, throughout this tournament that would make this easier to know which way it was going to go is the space factor. So if you see a speed skate or something like that takes up more space, I could see bicycles or Russian twist easily taking that down, just because less space, is better in these times. But both of these take up pretty much the same amount of space. Makes it real tough. Yeah,
I do think that when it comes down to it, it's gonna be the workout. It's gonna be, okay, how long are we making people do whichever spice they choose? And I gotta be honest, for me personally, I prefer to do, let's say, 5 minutes of Russian twist over 5 minutes of bicycles. Bicycles, you're on your back. You got to kind of put your hands behind your head. Sometimes it can be a little rough on your neck.
We'll be dropping demos of how to do these in case you're not sure.
Demos, for sure. But Russian twist, it's tough. But as you said, same space.
Let's go into predictions. Who do you guys have and percentages?
Emma, you want to go first?
I'm going with Russian twists, and I'd like to see 55-45 for Russian twists.
Jake, who you got?
I've got Russian twists winning a little bit more handily at about 58-42%.
I got Russian twists as well, going in a 60-40 split.
Wow.
People are ready.
There you have it, folks. But you know what they say? That's why you play the game. You never
ever pencil it in.
Never pencil it in. So we're going to drop the workout, of course, as we have been throughout the tournament. We'll drop it. We're recording this on Wednesday. We'll drop the workout on Thursday by dinner time. Do the workout anytime on Friday. Tell your friends. Make sure you submit your pics, share your videos, hashtag March Madness NPDC, NP_continues across our social media platforms. What else do we got coming up? Pipeline, folks.
I guess we're going to keep doing this.
This is it. Someone did message us, though, on Instagram the other day. So I think this is where someone did a message saying, are you guys going to keep posting workouts throughout April? And I responded, hell yeah. So don't worry. Even after this is over, there's more stuff coming.
There's more workouts to come. Who knows? Maybe a Zoom link will be in our future. We've obviously mastered it.
Mastered Zoom. We're Zoom.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, we don't have a name for this yet, but this is only the first episode of this show that we're going to be doing. Is that right?
Like and subscribe down here.
Yeah, 5 stars.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you have name suggestions, hit us up.
Yeah. Hit it. Slip into our DMs. Reply on Twitter. Let us know what you think.
We'll be discussing other things just besides this March Madness bracket.
A lot more.
We are going to talk about spice every single episode.
We're going to break down the pros and cons of every spice in this tournament.
Gosh. Yeah, what if we featured...
Tune in next week to hear our thoughts on Boyens.
Featured spice.
All right, that's enough. We've gone far too long, folks. Thanks again for watching, and do your spice, do your matchup on Friday. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
Bye, guys.